Steady. And I'm going to turn it on speaker view because I will be distracted if I get to see everyone at the same time, and pin myself so that's not Allie that we're looking at. Okay, there we go. Welcome to the Jewel Tips. Yes, 2021. We are so excited that you guys are here. Regardless of what is happening in the world right now, we know that you made a choice to be here with us and develop in yourself and grow yourself, and that matters. That is what's going to last, and how you're going to elevate yourselves. And so we're bringing our best for you guys tonight to hopefully set you up for success this year in 2021. I just keep saying that because I'm over 2020, so I'm like, if I can just say 2021, that'll be good. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to go straight in to our thoughts. Okay, we're going to start with our brain, which I am finding it's been my favorite topic for a while, but now I'm having more language to understand it, and so now it's really my favorite topic. I know we talk about mindset and our thoughts and stuff a lot, but there's a lot of science that's kind of behind how and why we do what we do. So our thoughts. Oh, really quick, if you have questions, save them for the end, or write like our names as we each take turns, and then the question in the chat, and then we'll scroll and we'll do some Q&A at the end of this. So, okay, because I'm going to go quickly because I don't want to go too long. So our brain, it has 3 jobs. Okay, this is science that has told us it's got 3 jobs. First is to seek pleasure. Second is to avoid pain. And the third is to conserve energy. And so this makes more sense when you start looking at things in your life and why we procrastinate, why we don't want to do what we want to do, because we want to conserve energy, we want to avoid pain, or we want to seek pleasure. Any Netflix bingers in here? That would probably cover most of those areas, if not all 3, which is maybe why it's like so popular. But you want to manage your mind. So as that is like the brain's priority, it's going to be kind of a ninja as it comes in and takes you out and away from the goals and the things that you actually want to show up for with your business, your family, your health goals, whatever those are. Your brain's going to come in and start saying things, and you're going to think that it's you talking, but really it's just your brain trying to protect itself. Because its sole purpose really is those 3 jobs, and like to process information. Its job isn't to motivate or empower you or whatever. It's just like a computer, okay? So it believes what we tell it, and we're going to get to that here in a minute, but there are, what we don't want is a mismanaged mind. And these are some signs of a mismanaged mind. And if you guys follow Kristen Boss, a lot of this I've gotten from her as I've been following her and educating myself and growing in this too. But the first sign of a mismanaged mind is your low belief. Belief maybe in the products that we're offering, belief in the offer, the opportunity, and maybe even low belief in yourself. That might sound like, people don't like multi-level marketing. They don't like network marketing. They get annoyed with my posts. I don't have what it takes. I can't teach people how to be successful. What if these products don't work? Maybe you have imposter syndrome. Like, what if they find out that I don't really know everything about all the products or about the business? I have that sometimes. Maybe you think your audience doesn't want to hear about it. They're not going to believe me. They don't want to do the business. How many of you guys don't even approach your new ambassador about sharing because you've already decided in your brain they don't want it? They don't want to do the business. They don't want to share. And so you literally like stop yourself. You think you're stopping yourself. Your brain's just coming in. That's going to take energy. That's going to be risky. We want to be safe, so there's a risk involved. And so you are protecting yourself. So we want to notice, okay, what to do instead is to notice those thoughts when we're having those feelings that are stopping us, maybe fear, whatever. You want to build that belief again. Okay, if we're focusing just on the belief, maybe look at Diamond documentaries. I loved those. I binged a ton of them when I first started, and I cried, I think, at almost all of them because I loved it when the kids especially were like, my mom is the best. And I'm like, oh, baby. I was a hot mess because I was young mom. Anyways, my kids were young and I just thought, oh my gosh, if I could be that kind of a role model for my kids, that would be amazing. And then maybe there's like other testimonies that you could read in our Testimonies by Bless page in the Rise Academy. We're posting testimonies all the time. Maybe there's even just making a post and asking your Plexus friends to tell you what they love about it, and reaching out to your customers, like just reconnecting with why you're doing this and the lives that you're actually getting to change while you do this. Also, you know, reconnecting with your own story, and then having your own back. Notice the voices that are playing in your head, that person that you keep hearing every time you make a post. They might not be liking or commenting your posts, but it's that, excuse me, that friend that said once, you know, oh, those network marketers, blah, 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 you know, whatever you heard, that's the voice that you hear every time you post. Stop giving them rental space up in there, y'all. Like, that's your zone. They don't have to live there. They're living there for free. And they're totally like sabotaging where you want to go. And so you get to manage those thoughts. First step is just even noticing that they're there, okay? Another sign of a mismanaged mind is low failure tolerance. Y'all, this one has blown my mind. The more I'm learning about this, between Dr. Henry Cloud recently and Kristen Boss, there are new things that I'm learning about this. So we have been wired as human beings to avoid failure. Failure in school. We don't want to fail a test. We don't want to fail a class. We don't want to fail a job. We don't want to fail our kids, our marriage, a race, you know, or I don't know, anything that you're putting yourself to, you know, we don't want to fail. Because failure somehow has become shameful. And so then we connect it with shame and bad and wrong, and newsflash, okay? Lean in a little bit. Failure is required in this job. Just gonna leave that one there for a minute, because we're entrepreneurs and we are trying trial and error all the day long, and that failure is literally part of the process. How many of y'all have kids? And how many of you guys put your kid in a timeout when they fell, when they were trying to walk? Those kids, toddlers, tripping and not being able to walk right away. That's what we do to ourselves. Instead, no, we're like, yeah, you almost got it. You can do this. And no toddler is like sitting shaming themselves in the corner. I'm such a bad 2-year-old because I can't walk, you know, or whatever. Like, they just keep going until they master it. It takes, like, Henry Cloud said he thought the stat was like 1 to 2 million tries before they actually master walking. Can you imagine if they would have given up even on the millionth, you know, or the 999th try? And that's what we get to practice, okay, is failing forward. I know there's a whole book about it, which is really good, but it's again, managing the thoughts around failure and how it actually can be something that is very good and moves the needle forward. In fact, let's see here. I had written down, maybe I'll get to it. Okay, yes, so our brain is wired to be extremely adverse to failure because it's uncomfortable, so it doesn't feel safe, you know, it takes energy, and the other one, pleasure. How many of you guys like failing? Okay, it literally goes against all the things that our brain wants to do. So again, it's going to take something to show up in the failure. I'm not saying you're not going to have feelings around it, you know, or something, or that you should come to this place where it's like, I like failing, it feels so good. But you are going to get to a place where you're like, nope, this is good. So what to do when you get to failure? Okay, make sure I'm not losing my place here. Start taking on the mindset of that failing is a part of the journey. It's exactly how we're designed to be successful. That is how God designed it. Okay, so the toddlers, I talked about that. God designed us. This is what I was looking for. God designed us for perpetual failure, feedback, and adjustment or readjustment. Like that is the whole journey. In fact, I would almost argue that God doesn't really care about the walking as much as he cares about how we get to walking. Because like if you think about gardening, a tree, you know, always the tree analogy, like it's not just going to be, you don't want it to shoot up, you know, it's going to blow over in the next windstorm or whatever. You want it to build the roots and you want it to get a good solid trunk and foundation before it actually bears the fruit. And so a lot of times that just takes longer for people, some people than others, or there's more things that we got to work through, you know, to get that foundation built. And so it's going to feel like a lot of failure. before we actually get to where we want to go. But failure is good. And the sooner that we can embrace that, the sooner we actually will become successful, because then the more we'll be able to show up and fail. I know this sounds, your brain's probably like, red alert, oh my gosh, stop talking that word, the F word, you know? Another sign of a mismanaged mind is the low emotional allowance. Low emotional allowance. Emotions are information. Now, I am going to be the first to say, as an Enneagram 7, my gold medal is in avoiding emotions and pain, you know? And so this is something that I've learned even in this, okay, as I'm teaching it to you guys. Be willing to feel and process emotions. What shows up when we don't do that is hustle. Hustle is usually the coping mechanism that we actually use to avoid judgment and shame and fear, that failure part. So I'm so afraid over here of failing that I'm just going to keep needy energy, scared hustle, you know, and then I'm going to burn out. My team's going to burn out. My customers are going to be like freaked out, you know, because I'm over here hustling and crazy. And so it's not going to end well. So like the pep talks, we don't need, what I say, pep talks don't need to be there to keep me going. Okay. So I'm all about like positive thinking, you know, whatever. But if I'm always looking out here, you know, for the next motivational thing, the next, you know, happy person to build me up or whatever, like my emotions are still not getting dealt with. So like sit with your emotion, feel them out, and then look at the thought behind those emotions. Because with any circumstance, there's a thought that follows that, which is followed by a feeling, which is followed by an action and a result. Okay. Sorry, I don't know what is that spell. Shoot, and I lost my spot. Okay, so the needy energy, hustle, yes. So you think, okay, I'm back. Resistance to my feelings is resistance to my growth. So the sooner that I'm in my feelings and sorting them out and noticing and looking at them, feeling them, whatever needs to happen with them, the sooner that I can have success, the sooner that I can have growth from that. If I keep resisting it, it's going to persist. What you resist persists, okay? It will not go away until it's dealt with. Sometimes it's just a good cry or a good conversation with a friend about that, right? And then you can move on, because once our brain kind of sorts through it, then it's a mute issue and it's no longer an issue. So when negative feelings come up, yes, you quit. You think you're doing something wrong. Because again, we think, you know, the resistance part, that's going to lead to adversity. We don't want to sabotage our goals by thinking negative emotions are bad and that you're doing it wrong. It's negative emotions are going to come up no matter what. Again, failure is going to be there, and failure doesn't feel good. So that's going to be in a negative emotion there. And so then we're going to think, oh, we're doing something wrong. I guess this isn't for me. I guess I shouldn't do this. Guys. Parenting. Okay. Again, who has kids? Parenting brings up all emotions, all the things. Doesn't mean I'm going to go return my kid somewhere or like kick him to the curb or whatever. Like there's something there that we get to wrestle with and grow through. Okay. Another mismanaged mind, unrealistic goals and unrealistic expectations. Actually, I thought I deleted that. Basically, like making sure when you're setting a goal that you want to, you don't want to miss target and shoot too high or too low. You want to be realistic about where you're going and map it out with your sponsor or a power buddy or whatever, and make sure that there's a level of reality there. So like what you're capable of, what your leaders are capable of, and then something that might just push the envelope a little bit, you know what I mean? But not, I'm going to be Emerald tomorrow, because if and when that doesn't happen and you're gold, you know, or something today, that is going to set you off, right? And you also don't want to be like, I'm going to be silver in 7 months, you know, and you just started. And that's, I mean, sometimes that happens for people, but I'm just saying, like, you don't want to undercut yourself or overshoot. So that takes practice and stuff too, right? Okay. But expect expect resistance. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I love the latest podcast, a resource I'm going to shout out again at the end here too, but it's the Becoming Boss podcast. Kristen just released one yesterday, is Monday. Yep, yesterday, on how we kind of sell this business as work it in the nooks and cranny of your day, and you can make a 6-figure income. And literally, y'all, for 4 years, I've tried to work it in the nooks and cranny of my day. And then that's really become all day. And then that's how I built a 6-figure income, and not really recognizing, no, this is actual job. Like, I have my CEO hat on. I'm taking this job more seriously. And so it's helped me better communicate to myself and to other people just joining, what is an income that you want to earn that is going to get you excited about this business. And then once they give me a dollar amount, then I can tell them how that's going to look in reality. You know, it's going to take hard work to get a 6-figure income. To get to Jewel, just a news flash, y'all, you got to do some hard work. Does not mean you have to be hustly and stressed out all the time. We're going to get to some of those tips here soon, but it does mean that there's hard work and that it's good work. Okay. Whew. Okay. We're almost done. Look at your thoughts. Okay. So this is two things. Okay. Thoughts. When you have a thought, you hear a sound, let's say a loud boom. It's a gunshot. Is that a gunshot? Is your first thought of the circumstance of this loud sound. And now all of a sudden you have this physiological response, your fear, and you're stressed out, and things are going crazy in your house. Maybe you said it out loud and you're like, oh my gosh, I think that was a gunshot. Now your kids, a gunshot? Now they're freaking out and everyone's stressed out. Then you find out it's a tire that blew out. Oh, a tire that blew out. Okay, now everyone's like more calm. Like, your thought literally can trigger all kinds of responses to your whole body and to your environment. And so again, that's why it's so important to manage your mind, because that is going to set you up for success or total stuckness. Okay. One thought, or as you're addressing the thoughts, note that whole fight, flight, and freeze. If you guys have heard of that with the brain's response in those 3 areas that I was talking about, the fight is like the hustle. Okay, I'm going to cold message everyone on my Facebook list, and I'm going to ask them if they've seen my Plexus posts, and they're going to join me, and I don't care what it is. It's very scarcity. It's very needy. Then you've got the flight. You're like, forget this. I'm going to go do laundry. All of a sudden, I got to clean all my baseboards. I don't know why. I just feel like I got to do that, because your brain is like, freak out. Okay, we're going to run and we're going to do something else that has nothing to do with where we want to go. Or the freeze, where it's just simply no action. You're not quitting, but you're just literally not doing anything. Regardless, when those things come up, that's where you want to pause, look at your thoughts around that, and see like what is creating all that. So the last thing is just our words. Okay, we've talked about our thoughts. As our thoughts come, our words are going to come out, right? From that, you believe what you say about yourself more than what anyone else says about you. That ties back to our thoughts. And consider that what you say out loud about your business, about your team, nobody's working, nobody's doing anything on my team, I can't get any silvers, I can't, whatever. Y'all, these are words that have come out of my mouth, okay? It creates that. That is what my reality becomes. It's like the self-sabotaging, right? But there is power in our words. It doesn't mean like now if I just start saying like what's the term? Where, you know, you just speak it into existence and so it shall be. It's not like a genie in the bottle, but know that if I'm talking about like when I get to diamond versus someday, I hope I get to diamond someday. Like there is a difference there as far as like my energy and what I'm creating and what I'm running after. And so when we have those dream boards, those vision boards, when we are telling people how successful our team is, you know, how successful people are, like the successes that they're having in their health journey and their business journey, that creates like a whole world out there of success. And people believe it, they want more of that, and it generates it. I don't know how else to explain it. There's all books around it, you know, or whatever, but I was going to end with the story of the rice experiment, but I ran out of time. So just know that your words have power. And I'm so proud of you guys for all showing up today and taking on your thoughts. And as we take those thoughts, we're going to pass it on over to Cassie Rainey. who is going to share some more tips.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that, because I honestly, my whole business shifted when I was able to get my mindset and get like really truly manage my thoughts. So it is absolutely foundational. What I am going to talk about is working smarter, not harder. And we are going to be talking about the context of your content. I am just like you guys, very limited on my time, and I want my effort, my content, my reach outs to go as far as they can, in all honesty. Like, I don't want to just be throwing stuff up just to check off the boxes. I want content to reach the right people. Okay. And so we're just talk a little bit about how to really work smarter as far as finding your tribe, finding the people that you want, really that are going to fit your culture, that are going to come alongside you and connect with you, and people that are going to be able to stay with you. Okay. We want the right people because that's going to bring retention and that's going to bring business builders when they're the right people for you. So we are going to jump in. First tip is identifying your ideal customer. I could talk about this all day long. And the reason why is because each of us are uniquely gifted. Okay. Each of us are uniquely created to speak to a specific audience. We are not created to be all things to all people. And I think when we get in this, oftentimes we're like, we'll just take anybody, right? Like, whoever wants to join me, great. And what happens is we are just watering down our content and we're not speaking to anyone specifically. And I think when that happens, we end up falling on deaf ears, all of our stuff, because it's not specific. I don't know if you've ever like read a post and you're like, how does that, it's like that person's in my head. Like, how do they know? That's how I'm feeling. That is what we want as ambassadors who are sharing Plexus. We know that there's a lot of, Plexus is truly for everyone. But if we are copying and pasting posts, the post that I make may not reach your people. The post that Allie makes may not reach my people. And so you just have to look at, we can use each other's things for inspiration, but I really, really want to get you to a place where you know exactly who you're talking to and creating content that is going to speak to them. My dog just came in. Okay, so we want to really narrow this down. Now, there are worksheets. Most of our team pages, we have them. If you need one, let me know. But a worksheet where you can really work through who is your ideal customer. Because before you even create content, before you're making posts and all of that, you need to know who you're talking to. And the reason why is you actually need to know their pain points. What are they feeling? Maybe what season of life are they in? Are you going after working men and women? Are you going after stay-at-home moms? Are you going after moms with toddlers? Are you going after empty nesters? I mean, you can see that, yes, Plexus is for everyone, but your voice can truly move and inspire a very specific audience. And I've always heard like the riches are in the niches. I think that's kind of a funny saying, but it stuck with me. And I 100% believe it's true. When you are niching down and you are speaking directly to a specific audience, your voice becomes louder and it actually penetrates their heart. Because before, they're just scrolling on by because they don't think that what you're saying, the Plexus that you're talking about, is for them. And so when you really narrow in and understand who you were meant to speak to, who you were meant to serve, then like the sky is the limit. because you're actually reaching them. So some of the questions that you can work through when you're looking at who is my ideal client, a lot of times it's the person that you were when you started Plexus. Most people tend to kind of go that way. It might be the person that you are now. What season of life are you in? Kind of knowing like, okay, this is a passion of mine. This is a hobby of mine. This is the kind of group that I want to talk about. Who are the people that you are naturally drawn to? Okay. For me, it's like foster and adoptive parents, large families. And that is who I'm naturally drawn to because we have a lot to talk about, right? So it's who do you have things in common with? That helps you kind of narrow it down. But as you're looking at it, I really want you to give a name to that person. And I know that sounds really silly, but honestly, when you are writing your content, when you are sitting down and writing your post, being able to truly picture who you are speaking to. Who is that one person, your ideal client? Maybe it's a real person in your life. I actually have a real person. She's a girl on my team, love her. But she is like my ideal. She's everything, like the whole package of what that's who I want to reach. And so when I write, I actually think about her. I think about like, what are the pain points in her life? What is keeping her up? What is she worrying about? What is she stressed out about? What has she probably tried already and failed at? How can Plexus be a bridge in her life? What can Plexus bring to her life? So that is why really an ideal client is going to change everything for your business. And I really do recommend actually working through this exercise annually because your ideal client will kind of change as you change, okay? As you mature and move into different seasons of life, your ideal client, the people that you are trying to reach, is actually going to change a little bit too. So ideal client, like I said, there are worksheets that even if you just get on Google and type in ideal client worksheet, it will give you all kinds of amazing things. I have one in Team Rise as well that just walks you through a bunch of questions and it helps you just really get that person in focus. So once you have your ideal client, you know exactly who you're speaking to, then you go find them, okay? I always laugh that like you could have the best content ever, but if you don't have the right people seeing it, then it's gonna just be void. So we want to find your ideal client, okay? Doesn't matter what platform you use, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or in person or however, okay? It is all about now you know who you're reaching. Okay, where are they? Where do they hang out? What are they in a MOPS group? Are they in, Moms of Preschoolers group? Are they serving at a local community organization? Are they in a women's Bible study at your church? Where are they? It gets easier when you start looking on social media because of the way social media is set up. You've got hashtags, and hashtags, especially on Instagram, but it also works on Facebook. Hashtags are your best friend to find your ideal customer. Okay. So don't look at hashtags about like what are your hobbies or thoughts or anything like that. You want to use hashtags based on your ideal client, on your ideal customer. What hashtags are they using? Okay. So I see a lot of people using mom boss and boss babe and all that. And I'm like, well, if you click on that hashtag, you just go find a bunch of other entrepreneurs, right? And that's not who you're looking for. You are looking, whoever your ideal customer is, what are they looking for? Okay. Maybe they're exhausted moms with, postpartum. They're probably looking at the hashtag postpartum mom, postpartum bod. And that's a really popular one. Like you got to know where they are at, not you, where they are at. So I really encourage you to have a running list of hashtags, okay? You can use up to 30 hashtags on your post in Instagram. Usually around 20 to 30 is best, like 20 is great. You want to both use hashtags in your post and in your stories, okay? Because that is actually like huge. Putting hashtags in stories, it'll get you a lot further of a reach, because you want those people to find you, but you also want to go find them. So you're also going to spend time going through that hashtag and going and finding the people. I don't want you just to friend and like everybody on that hashtag. I want you to go and find people that are an authentic connection, somebody who you truly want to do life and business with. When you go on their profile or on their page, you're like, this person, I would totally be best friends with this person. That's what I want for you. Because when you find people that are like-minded and people that that you want to do life and business with, it's gonna really overflow into your business, where you are going to retain them because they fit your culture, and you're going to really connect with them, and they will catch the vision so much quicker about building the business because they are like-minded with you. So using hashtags, okay? So both posting them and using them to find people, and keeping a list, okay? Keeping a list, because this is where people fall through the cracks. Keep a list, and you, as you're finding people, I recommend finding 10 new people a week. So that's 40 a month, okay? And we know that not everybody's gonna stick, and not everybody you're gonna develop a relationship with, but aim for 10, because if you're continually adding 10 people a week to your community and to your network, that's incredible. That's a whole lot. That's a whole lot over a year. Okay, so hashtags. The other thing that I was going to share about is influencers and large brands. This has been a game changer for me, because when you look at either a brand, an organization, or an influencer, an author, even a celebrity that already has done the work to get the network and the ideal customer that you are looking for, they've already done that work. They have a whole pool of people that you are looking for, okay? So on their social media, all of those people, those are all potentials for you, because if most likely if they're following, whoever, if that person attracts your ideal client, then they have a whole pool of potentials right there for you, okay? So that gets, I'm sure that's a little confusing, but think about, like, do you have an author that you absolutely love that draws your ideal client? If so, you go and spend some time commenting and building relationships in the comments. So if they make a post and then all their followers comment, and you go and get active in that, and not commenting to the influencer, the celebrity, or the author, you're commenting to the people. You're answering questions or asking them questions. That then leads to conversations and really connection outside of that group or page. So be thinking, who are the brands who are, like, honestly, like, you could get really niche down in this, but who are the kind of the big names that you follow that would attract your ideal client? And then you just go and you start spending time, and that is how you find people that are your ideal client. It has been literally like the easiest way that I have found people. So hashtags, and then using influencers and large brands. That is my avenue, instead of just going on random places and friending random people who are not going to, they don't care. They don't want to be connected to you because there's no common ground. Okay. This is a smart way to find the people that want to hear what you have to say. Okay. You can also do this on groups on Facebook. Okay. This is a brilliant, I know a lot of you do this, but a brilliant way to get niche down, exactly who's all in those groups. Go and getting active in there. Okay. And active because you truly want to have relationships with these people. These are people you'd be friends with. And being active because you care about the content, you care about what's going on in that group. But that is really, truly like to be spending relationships with them. So we talked about, let's see, identifying your ideal customer, growing your network strategically. And then the last thing is creating content that attracts your ideal customer, because you know who it is, right? You know who you're speaking to. You're adding them into your community by friend requesting, by commenting on their stories, both on Instagram and Facebook, really having just genuine conversation. Okay. But then you, on top of that, this is really kind of the gateway, is writing content or producing content that actually is speaking to those people. Okay. That's where I'm saying you don't want to just copy and paste, because it can inspire, but often what someone else is saying is going to speak to their tribe. It's not going to speak to yours. So, they kind of call it like spaghetti strategy. A lot of people will just throw post up. Doesn't matter what it is. They'll throw a testimony up. They'll throw whatever up. But rarely does the spaghetti actually stick on the wall. Okay. I want you to work smarter, not harder. Okay. I want you to be able to, the posts that you make actually move the needle in your business forward. Okay? So I want you to really look at your content is it's the number one income producing activity that you could do. If you are writing content that is attracting the right people. Okay. Your content, what you are putting out on Facebook and on Instagram, that is what moves the needle forward. Okay. It really is. It can be the number one thing that moves your business forward. But your audience, they have to feel like you know them. Okay. Because that is what moves them. Let's see, I have a thing here. Sorry, I'm getting lost in my notes. People will buy from you and they will say yes to you when they feel understood by you, not when they understand you. That like totally changes it all, right? It's not about our story. It's not about our knowledge of the products. It's not about any of that. It is about how do your potentials, do they feel like you understand their struggle? Because we know that Plexus is for all people. But when we understand their struggle and we can show them how Plexus fills that need in their life, then the heavens open up and they move forward, right? But it's not about convincing. Let me show you all the knowledge that I have. Let me show you how great this is, how great that is. It is about when they feel that you truly understand them and that Plexus will fill the need in their life. Most people they'll do anything to get that. They'll walk through a brick wall to get Plexus when they feel that. So that is what I want for you, is I want your content to be so targeted that those people, they're like, how does she know what I'm feeling? Like, how does she know, at night, what I'm sitting here worried about and I can't sleep? So some of your content, as you're kind of thinking about what kind of content, okay, asking yourself, what is my person? What lie is she believing about herself? That would be a powerful post, wouldn't it? What lie is she believing about herself? And you talk about that, and then you talk about that pain point, you agitate it and you talk about it, and then you provide a solution, which Plexus can be a solution for pretty much everything. So providing that little way of how Plexus can fit that need. Let's see, what is in the way of my person getting what they really want? How can I speak to that struggle and empower her specifically? And let's see, I've got all kinds of questions here, but what would my client, what would her life look like after 30 days with my product? What would it look like after 60 days? And kind of talk, like flipping it around and talking about the hope of like, can you imagine in 30 days being the shareholders? Really begin painting a picture, but you've got to know what they're struggling with in order to do that. What is a cycle that your client keeps finding herself in? How does she break that cycle? What is a bold truth that I can speak today in order to give my client, my audience, a win? What story from my life can I tell my client that she will deeply relate with to build her trust? So I hope that you see like your content is really giving, it's really to pierce their heart. It's to attract them. And when you do that, that moves the needle forward in your business so that you're not having to convince, and come on, like 20 different times. As they're watching, you are just washing over them. Like, this is how this applies to you. This is how it fills your need. And they come to you completely ready to sign because they're already sold, because they already believe that what you have to offer is for them. So that is what I want for you. Now, this takes practice. This takes time. This takes a lot. Okay. Don't expect to be perfect on this. Don't expect to even, honestly, I've been working on this for a year, maybe a year and a half now, and it is a work in progress. So step by step by step, your first goal is to know exactly who you're talking to. Who is your audience? Find your niche audience. And then you're going to go find them, and then you're going to create content that is going to attract them. So I hope that's helpful. It's really, truly all about niching down and understanding how to market well so that you're attracting the right people. Okay, so next up is Jody, and I'm super excited to hear all the things that Jody is going to give us tips on. Go ahead, friend.
Okay, so I'm going to go off of my first thing is about sharing our story, which Cassie just talked way more specifically than I was going to talk about it. So I love that. But knowing that like your story is not just for you, it is absolutely, I fully believe that God gives us our stories so that it can reach multitudes. Like, I really believe that he uses our story to impact other people, and your story matters. And don't get tired of telling that story, and knowing how to do that, and knowing who your people are, like Cassie was just talking about, is so important. And not trying to speak to everyone. Like, my story is not going to be for everyone. Not everyone is going to necessarily like me or my story, and that is okay. And they're not going to relate to that, but like, own that. It's okay. And knowing that God will use it for the right people. But also knowing how, and this takes practice as well, knowing how to invite other people into a greater story. Like, knowing how to speak directly to them so that they can see a bigger picture, like where they want to be and where they want to go. How do they fit into this? How could they have hope? How could it look different? And people are going to do business with us if they know, like, and trust us. And so that comes through us sharing our lives. And that's not just Plexus. That is so many other avenues of our life. And so being willing to share those things, and be vulnerable with them in appropriate ways, obviously, but painting the picture for them of what it can look like so that they can see themselves maybe where I am now, like knowing where I was 5 years ago, that they can see, oh my goodness, that could be for me too, instead of saying, oh, that's nice for them. Like, that's what I used to say. And knowing that they could see it too. So painting that picture for them, but knowing too that when people say no, that's okay. The thing that stuck out to me last year when I went to Align was Tiffany shared the 4 SWs, 5 SWs, whatever it was, however many it was. Some will, some won't, so what? Someone's waiting. And that stuck, you guys, because some will want what we have and some won't. And so what are we going to do with that? And that 110% goes back to our mindset. Am I going to let it get me stuck, or am I going to think, you know what? Someone else is waiting. Someone else is waiting for you. So don't get stuck, and keep going. I hear people too all the time say, well, I don't really have a story. It's just so average. It's just, no one's going to want this. And that's just not true, because you wanted what your friend shared, right? So you related somehow. So that was at least one other person that's like you. But I just read a book by the gal who created Seiko Designs. And she has a book that is fantastic. I didn't even know she wrote a book, but I found it this week, and I wanted to read this part because she talks about there's a bell curve, and she's like, look, most of us are average. Like, there's a few percentage that are like on the edges of that bell curve. And if you realize that, it's actually really freeing. And so I wanted to read that part in her book because it was so good. Okay, it says, so many believe they are inherently below average and are terrified of what others might think of them should they spread their wings and try to fly. Because the truth is, you're like me, most likely pretty average. I know, I have a real gift for inspiring words. Please, someone make a beautiful hand-lettered Insta quote out of that. You are average. And then she has the bell curve. She goes on to say, but it's true, the majority of people reading and writing this book are most likely somewhere in the middle of the almighty bell curve when it comes to inherent talent, capacity, giftedness, and intelligence. If that makes you feel bad, it's because we've been conditioned to think that being inherently average is depressing and demoralizing, when in fact, owning your average is actually a remarkable, freeing thing. It's better than having to try harder than that old sport. Something miraculous will happen when you own your average. You will stop only saying yes to the things you think you'll immediately excel in. When you own your average, you start to realize that no one is thinking about you quite as much as you think they are. You are not Beyonce. When you decide to own your average, you will start to believe that success will require lots and lots of work and isn't just an inevitable result of being born awesome. You also realize that your insecurities and failures aren't the telltale sign that you're below average. You know that mistakes and wrong turns are simply a requisite on the road to building an above average life of purpose and passion, which means you'll be less afraid to fail and flail a bit. And more importantly, you'll become less afraid and more likely to succeed, perhaps wildly, because you truly believe you're just as worthy and likely to build an extraordinary life of purpose and passion as anyone else. And I love that. And it talks about not having fear of failure, like owning your life, owning who you are, and bringing that to the table, because people need it, you guys. And so reminding yourself of that every single day. So I loved that book, and I loved that section, and so wanted to bring that to you guys tonight. The other thing that I want for all of us, for everyone in this business, is that we would be here for the long haul. Sorry, I have fur babies and real babies, and someone always wants in or out. I want us to be here for the long haul. And so that means we have to build our businesses and our lives in sustainable ways. Like, we have to put things into practice that are sustainable. And one of those things, and this might sound so weird as I was thinking about this today, but one of the ways is by not quitting. Like, not giving yourself an out. And what that means is that you have to put into practice rest. And so that when you get tired or when you get discouraged, you have set up practices that allow for you to rest. Rest your mind, rest your heart, rest your soul. And you have people in your life who are going to hold you accountable to do that, so that you will stop quitting. Because when you quit all the time, if you're in and you're out and you're in and you're out, it's demoralizing for you, and it sets yourself up to believe that you can't do it, and you can. And so when I started this business, the big thing for the first couple of years was like, draw your line in the sand. And you'll hear that. I mean, people talk about that, but it was like all the time we heard that, draw your line in the sand. But it was true. And so if you come in with a mentality that I am going to do this, and even if it gets hard, I'm going to stick with it, then you are going to you'll have long-term vision. You won't have short-term vision. It will serve you. And no one wants to join people who are quitting or who are in or out, you guys. So decide, like, be in or be out. If you want to be part-time, be part-time. If you want to be full-time, be full-time. But you can't just be willy-nilly in this business. It won't work. It's not a nooks and crannies, okay? And that was another term we used. And my husband was like, you've got to have a lot of nooks and crannies if you're going to do this to the top. And so really setting up work hours, setting up family hours. You don't want to get to the top having burned all the bridges in your life and having worn out your family, worn out your friends. We don't want to do that. And so set those work and family hours and set those rest hours. Take a Sabbath. That is so hard to do. I get it. But it is so good for us. It helps our creativity. It helps us to actually want to re-engage again. It will keep us liking people when we take breaks. God knew that we needed breaks, you guys. And so take the breaks. It is good. When I think my very first leaders retreat, Sheila Medina said, there is no such thing as a pink drink emergency, honey. So do not respond to those messages as soon as they ding. And I am still terrible, you guys. Like, I hear that messenger and I think I need to do that. We don't have to rush in every minute, and it actually sets our teams up for failure when we do that. So I'm still learning some of these things, but I want us to be here for the long haul. And so set up some boundaries and get an accountability partner who's going to hold you to your rest and your work patterns. And I think Allie will probably touch on more of specifics. She is a queen, you guys, at discipline. Even yesterday I was like, I don't think I know what I'm doing. I don't have the discipline. But there are ways that you can learn and grow in that. Like, I just registered for a webinar this week for a seminar on time management. I was like, I think I just need another outside perspective, like someone who looks at it differently than I do. I need a refresher. So do things that are going to help you grow when you are weak in an area, when you need to put in a new rhythm. There are so many resources. Okay, we're not under-resourced people, that's for sure. Okay, my last thing before I toss it off to Allie is just caring for people, like our customer and ambassador care. It begins in the very first interaction with people, like how we interact with people on Instagram, on Facebook, in our messenger, like how we're engaging with people, care for them and serve them there. But then once people do join us, go over the top. Like, send a handwritten thank you. Send them a couple samples of something they didn't order when they joined you. Give your team shout outs on the page or in Messenger. People love praise. You guys, we don't get it enough in our life. And I guarantee you, people in normal 9-to-5 jobs, they're not getting that very rarely. And so be praising people, be encouraging them, cheer them on. I know that we know this, but we get busy and I will forget to do it. And I'm like, gosh, I should have shouted that person out. That was so awesome how they cared for this other person, whatever it is. Be filling people's banks up right now. You guys, we don't want to just be withdrawing from people. We want to be giving and serving them and loving them through the whole process. And if they say no, love them through that no. They'll come back. It's just a not yet. Create the culture that you guys want as a part of your team. So think, even as we're thinking, well, who's my ideal customer? What's my ideal culture that I want on my team? And make sure that it's there. And then have fun. Like, add fun into your team, add fun in your conversations with people. We want people to look at what we do and think, I want that. We don't want them to think, that looks crazy, she overworks, or she's a flaky, she didn't care for me in this way. Like, we want people to want to join us. So do your business in a way that you enjoy it, one, and if it's out of balance, figure it out, get some coaching in that, and invite people in, because this is an awesome job. And there are so many out there that are waiting for us to show up for them and to invite them to join us. So those are my quick tips. And now Allie is going to bring it on home with awesomeness, as she always does.
Oh man, I need you to like introduce me to my children on a daily basis. Okay, so some of the things that Jody brought up, I absolutely love because they're about managing your time and being effective in what you're doing and making it sustainable for your life long term. And so the first tip that I'm going to give you is to really take a look at learning how to effectively organize and manage your time. I talk about this all the time because I'm very passionate about it, and I'm passionate about it because I really sucked at it for my first couple of years in Plexus. I was a new mom in a new state. I moved states and I had like nobody helping, and my husband was gone all the time, and I was like multitasking all the time, right? And I felt like I was going crazy because I didn't have any time for myself. I felt like I was on my phone all day long. I wasn't paying attention to my kid, all this stuff. And so I sought out resources to help me get better in that area. And so that's why I talk about it a lot now. And one of the most important pieces of advice that I can give you is decide not only what is most important, because a lot of things in our lives are important, okay? But I want you to also decide what is most urgent in that moment. If you've read High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard, he uses the phrase, who needs me on my A game right now? Not later today, not tonight, right? Like not this weekend, right in this moment right now, who needs me on my A game? Okay. Full transparency. My kids are totally having screen time right now. Okay. Like I'm like, go watch a movie. Mommy's got work to do. Right. And you need to set up those boundaries like Joni was saying, because you guys are my priority right now. You guys need my A game. Okay. Of course I love my kids and I don't let them watch movies all day long every day, but this is a time for that. And I need to set some boundaries around that. So, important things, my kids are obviously important, but what is important and urgent and who needs the best of you in each moment. And really take ownership of what is your responsibility and what is not. And I know sometimes it's hard to like walk past the dishes all in the sink or something that are all dirty from dinner because you've got to go hop up on a call. I literally just did that to come up here. Okay, I get it. Like I want to get those clean because it's bothering me in the mental, visual clutter. Like I got it, but that's not urgent right now. Sure, it's important to do the dishes probably before I go to bed tonight, but I don't really need to do it right now and, rush to get on the call or whatever. I need to be calm, collected, and understand what I'm talking about, all that. So, like Jody was saying, set aside your work hours, your family hours, and that doesn't mean you're working 8 hours a day. It's just, when are you working? When are you with your family? When are you having self-care time? Pre-plan that. Create that plan, even if it's the night before. Write it down and stop multitasking. Stop trying to have dinner with your family and checking your phone every time it dings, right? Don't go on a walk outside to, collect your thoughts and talk to God and listen to a podcast and then be answering your phone every 5 seconds. Like, turn off your notifications. Be in the moment that you're in and give the best of you to that thing that is most important and most urgent in that time. Okay. So even if it's 15 minutes before your kids get up in the morning and it's 30 minutes after they go to bed at night, right? Like whatever that is, dedicate that time, promise that time to yourself and to your family or whatever that time is, and stop breaking promises to yourself. Okay. Like you're worth more than that. And if you don't think you have enough time, if that's your excuse, I'm going to say you're wrong. There are so many people succeeding in all kinds of things who are busier than you, who have more problems than you, more setbacks than you, more things they could complain about than you and me. I'm not trying to place blame, but I mean, I've had to face that. Like I used to think, oh my gosh, I have no help and this woe is me, and it's like all these people are out there thriving in spite of things that are much more severe than the situation that I am in. Maybe it's a me problem, right? Like maybe I'm not good at managing my time. Maybe I'm not good with my boundaries. Maybe I'm not very organized. Okay. So even if, right now you have to pay the 16-year-old neighbor girl to watch your kids for 1 hour and give them a snack after school twice a week, maybe it's that because you're like, I need a minute to breathe and just like understand what I'm doing in my life. Then do that, right? Or swap days with a neighbor or a family member or whatever. Get creative with creating some time in your life to do the things that are important and urgent for you, your family, your success, your long-term goals. all of that. I'm passionate about enforcing quiet time for your kids, right? Especially in this space. I think we've gotten caught up in this, like, I need to do all the things for all of my family all of the time. And you don't. Stop doing that. Like, nobody said a mother is supposed to be walked all over. Okay. That's not your role. You know, your role is to nurture and love and uplift and all the things and guide. And you're not the gopher for all the people. And you have wants and needs and goals and all these things that long-term are going to do really, really wonderful things for your family. So I want you to enforce the boundaries that you need to enforce, and think about that as we're, chatting. Where can you create more space? Where do you need more space? Maybe you're not having quiet prayer time every day and you've gotten lost in that. Where can you find that time? And maybe you've been pushing your business to the wayside because you've been making excuses, right? All holiday season, we made all these excuses, but now it's the new year, and like, guess what? You made all those excuses in holiday time, and now you're probably set back a little further than you might have been if you would have been working your business that whole time, right? So pre-plan things, set aside time, stop breaking promises to yourself, and set some boundaries. And when you get to that time, be efficient, cut out distractions, use that time for what it's supposed to be used for, okay? Imagine if you were going to work at that time for somebody else. Are you productive? Would you get fired for your lack of discipline, right? Like, seriously, if somebody's like, oh, go, do these 7 tasks on your computer, I want them to be done in 60 minutes. And you're like, oh, I just got stuck scrolling Facebook. I don't have anything to show for it. Like, you'd probably get fired if you did that more than twice, right? So check yourself where your activity is, and think about where you want your business to be, and really take a close look at your current activity and if it's going to get you there. A huge tip of mine that I've taught myself to do, like Jody said, takes a lot of discipline, and I was horrible at it in the beginning because social media is distracting. What we do can be very distracting. When you're doing your IPAs, do not check any notifications. Don't respond to messages. I don't care if you just offered somebody a sample and they wrote back, yeah, I'd love one. Well, you've got 12 more people to get through before you can go answer that. Okay. No notifications until you get through all of your outgoing stuff. That's a huge thing that has helped me just click through my IPAs, all the invites, all the follow-ups, all the reach outs, all the new friends, all the engagement, all of my outgoing. I need to put all of my important output first, and then I can go take all the input, right? Because your main business activities are expanding your network, engaging with them. Like I said, reach out, follow up, connecting with your team. And then it's working on personal development, making sure you have a post, all that stuff. This can all be done in 30 to 60 minutes. Done. Okay. If we don't get distracted, it's easy to click on a notification, then get stuck on a team page, and then you're finding some training thing, and then you're reading all the cool new, welcome pack graphics that just got posted, and you're like, oh, these are pretty, and like, that's awesome, and they're lovely, but I'm pretty sure you have some IPAs to be doing. So get out of the group chat, stop scrolling your feed and the team pages. Don't fall down a YouTube rabbit hole of trainings when you have important, urgent work to do. And if you're feeling scattered, trying to figure out what that important, urgent work is, well, the activities I listed above, right? And having them written out beforehand is a lifesaver. Whether you're using spreadsheets or, I love my planners. If you've seen me, I love my paper planner. But I open it, and every single day, I literally, every day, I have I know exactly what I'm doing tomorrow. Exactly. I can open it. I got 30 minutes, boom, I start at the top. Those are my potentials, and I go down the list. And my long-term seasoned ambassadors are at the bottom. Okay? I have it prioritized. I know exactly what I'm doing. And, when I add a new friend, I add them to my engagement list. I'm going to start engaging with those people. One of my tips is I do engagement on the weekends. That's what I do. I engage on the weekends because it can be relatively mindless. And I go directly to someone's page, engage, type in the next person, go directly to their page, engage. I never scroll. And so that's how I do that. I add friends, and they're on my engagement list. And I do that on the weekends. When somebody reaches out to me or I reach out to them, I go and I have a running list of potentials. I add their name to that. And then I put their name in my planner a few days later when I'm supposed to follow up with them. As soon as I talk to somebody, I cross out their name and put it on the next day. So I know every single day in the future exactly what I'm doing. And I also will take a minute on Sundays usually. And if I don't have content already written that's kind of like come to me, or some notes or whatever, I'll make a note on every day of kind of just the genre of what I want to share. Like on Tuesday, I'm going to post about a new board game we just bought. Everybody knows I love board games. On Wednesday, we're going to have date night. I know that's on my schedule. So I'm going to make sure I have a date night, take a selfie with us and make a post that night. Or maybe it's Thursday morning if Wednesday's, like I've got an idea of the week and I'll write down the general idea of the post. I'm going to make sure I get a couple business posts out there. I want a gut health post. I also want to promote the 3-day challenge. So I'm like just jotting those down, and that takes a couple minutes, and I'm in the habit of that now. But if you need to set a reminder for every Sunday night or whatever that is to you, do that. A weekly Sunday night reminder, just plan content for the week. That doesn't mean write, 7 days of posts, 14 posts. I'm not saying that, but get a plan in place, right? Setting aside the time, just slowing down to speed up is huge. And if you set aside the right time, use it wisely, plan out your activities, you are going to watch your business grow almost in a weirdly effortless way. It's kind of bizarre. Like I do so much less work now than I did when I started because I am so much more efficient, even though in the beginning when I was like silver, maybe I'd enrolled 5-6 ambassadors, I felt like I was constantly on my phone. And now I have some really secure boundaries, and I'm only at my phone or computer or iPad for this select, amount of time, and I knock it all out. And then I'm with my kids and I'm with my husband and we're doing date night and I'm having my prayer time in the morning, and I'm, all the things that fill me and fill my family up. Right. It's important to set those boundaries, and it took me time, took me years. And I'm not saying tomorrow you're going to become this like uber organized, efficient, productive person. I hope you do, but I have definitely taken time to develop those habits, and it became little by little by little. And I will say one of the very first things I did was do that organization of my new friends, who I'm engaging with, who I'm following up with, who I'm reaching out to. All of that stuff was the first thing that I did, because every day I felt like I was crash landing onto my IPAs and I didn't know what to do. So that was where I felt like I was scattered. So I started there, but it might not be like that for you. So kind of moving into the next thing that goes along with organizing and staying on top of things and being efficient, I want you to regularly, which means recurring, consistently, set and track your goals. And I'm going to give you some questions that maybe you can revisit later to work through your goal setting and tracking. And this will help you get an idea of how to plan out long-term success. So you're not just happening upon this accidental situation where you're like, oh, I wanted to be Ruby by now, but you didn't do anything about it, right? You had no plan. So where do you want to be in January of 2022, a year from now? Like, what is that, right? Write that down, write it down in your notes or whatever. January 2022, I am Emerald, whatever it is, right? Okay, so cut that in half. Where do you need to be in July to get there? It's easy to spout out that like, I want to be Diamond this year, but like, I got some goals, right? I got some team growth that needs to happen. So where do you need to be in July? So cut that in half of the year. To get there, what do you need to achieve starting now, monthly, to achieve that in July, right? So what are your monthly goals? We're kind of like taking a big goal and working backwards. Okay, now to complete January and February goals, because those are the most immediate ones. What do you need to do? What do you need to do every single week? How many points do you need to grow by? How many orders need to come in? How many new enrollments need to happen? Maybe weekly or every 2 weeks. Maybe between now and the end of January, you have a goal, and then you've got a midpoint goal for February, and then an end of February goal, right? What does that mean? What are you going for there, right? Where are where are those points going to come from if it's a point growth goal, right? They're going to come from personal enrollments. They're going to come from team enrollments. They're going to come from an active ambassador 100 PV orders. That's where those orders are going to come from, right? Those points are going to come from. I encourage you to set some weekly goals because revisiting that will help keep you on task instead of crash landing at the end of the month and realizing you didn't hit your goals, right? So knowing week one, say in February, you're going to have this big goal. Like after week one, check, what am I doing? Are my habits and activities reflecting the goals that I placed for myself? What can I adjust? Where can I pivot? And if you've got, a larger team, what will you be responsible for? And what are your leaders responsible for? And ask them. Don't put goals on them. Hey, I would love to help you achieve your goals for this month. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what you're reaching for. Tell me what your goals are, right? What do they feel they want to be responsible for? Help them guide their activity and their commitment level. And then you kind of know what they're doing and what you're doing, right? If you don't have leaders, do you have any new people who might be interested in having an event or sharing? Have you even asked them to use their free samples? Like, check yourself if you're was it Kelly talking about earlier? They're not interested in the business. Like, well, first of all, don't say, hey, are you interested in the business? Like, I hope none of you are saying that. But have you even told them they've got 3 free samples in the Plexus Engage app? Who do you know that I can help you send yours to, right? Like, how easy is that conversation? So are you even doing those things to help these people sign up a mom, a sister, a neighbor, a babysitter, right? Are you even doing those things? Imagine if every person you brought in, if that was just doubled by 1. Like if they just found their one running buddy. So kind of take a look at where your activity is and where you're putting energy into your team. And you don't have to have big leaders going for these huge goals to make progress, right? You're not on this island doing it alone. We all are more successful when we have accountability partners. And so talk to each person about that and lock arms with them. And if they say, oh yeah, I think, I have my aunt and my coworker might be interested. Well, you bet your bottom dollar the next day I'm going to ask if she's got her aunt and her coworker a free sample because she told me she wanted to, right? Like, don't be flaky on people and work your business like business, right? And if somebody tells you something, then follow up about it. It's that whole thing, like ask for the sale. And if somebody says they're going to do something, then you assume they're going to do it, right? So anyway, got off my soapbox about that one. But if you find that you're not having people interested in even offering a free sample to someone that they know, I would probably say that you're not talking about the opportunity to do that very often. If you are talking about the opportunity and not just like big, huge, giant financial stories, if you're not talking about even just a small opportunity, like, oh my gosh, I got to fill my car with gas with my weekly check or whatever, right? If you're not talking about that often, you're not going to be recruiting people who are even having that on their radar. So I think it was in our little chat when we were talking about this call, I was saying, I feel like I talk about a lot of the same things often. And I think it was Kelly who said, think about when we tell our kids things, we need to hear it like they need to hear it over and over and over and over and over again before they listen finally. And that was like me with some of these concepts about working your business and even mindset. Like I was like, this is mumbo jumbo. And I lacked so much confidence. I lacked so much belief in myself. And I've come a long way, as you can see. And so I urge you, if you've heard this before, like talk more about the business, talk more about, share financial stories, share just that, even that $25 from somebody ordering a $199 welcome pack. Like, what are you doing with it? Are you buying lunch for you and the kids? Like, just talk about it more, insert it into your conversation because it works. People are more open to the idea when they've heard you talk about it over and over and over and over again. Okay. So you're going to get back whatever you talk about. If you've got a team full of wholesalers, scroll back your past 3 months of posts. How many business posts are in there? Is it once a month? Is it any? Are they all about like Probio 5 and then X Factor? And they're like, why do I have all these customers who only want one product? Because you're only talking about one product, right? And so just take a look at your content, how it's affecting the people that you're attracting, and understand how your activity is going to measure up against the goals that you're setting for yourself. So pick a big goal, break it down into smaller checkpoints, identify the leaders interested in running with you. If you don't have leaders, check your content, check what you're talking about, check your verbiage, right? Track those goals like every week, check in with your people every week, pivot, adjust where you need to. And kind of a truth bomb for everybody, you are not going to achieve every single goal you set. So be ready for that, okay? And don't you dare abandon a goal when you miss it. Okay, we've all missed plenty of goals, okay? You adjust the timeline and you just keep moving forward because success is inevitable. The trend is always upward. Even if it's 3 steps forward and 1 step back, and then another 3 steps forward and 1 step back. Because if you're doing that all year long, well, guess what? When momentum season comes, all of a sudden you're going to take 7 steps forward because you learned so much in those backpedaling times, right? So you've got to embrace that, like embrace the suck, embrace the failure, and set those goals and go for them. Because if you never set them, you don't know where you're headed at all. But if you know you have this carrot dangling out in the future, at least you're making progress towards it, right? So even if you miss it, you're way further than if you never even tried. So try not to wander aimlessly through this business and really set some goals for yourself, and make sure that your activity is matching that. And along the way, my kind of last tip to wrap this up is to continuously grow as a leader and an individual. You need to take responsibility for your business. You need to take ownership, okay? Stop blaming anybody else, okay? You are a bunch of volunteers, right? We all volunteered to do this, okay? So take a look at yourself. This is, what you are creating. This is what I am creating. Coach yourself. Be willing to coach your team and love them enough to help them succeed and improve. Be accountable to your people and also hold them accountable. I think I don't love the term tough love, but if somebody tells me they're going to do something, I'm going to assume that they're going to do it. Okay. And I'm going to follow up with them about it. Hey, you were going to have, just like even for brand new people, when they're going to have like online events and then they flake out of the online event, like I'm very serious with them. I'm like, we planned on this and you still wanted to do that, but then you didn't do X, Y, Z. Is this still something you're interested in, or is that not really something you want to do anymore? Right? Just ask. They might be like, oh, I don't know, backpedal. And then it's like, fine, at least I know that because I asked that question instead of wasting my time and their time. Okay. So love your team enough to be honest with them and give them the tools and accountability they need to succeed and improve. But always be raising your leadership lid. Okay. Always be learning the ways that might be your blind spots, learning the areas that might be your blind spots. And investing that time to improve those areas, whether it's reading books or attending webinars or whatever, right? Attending trainings. And sometimes that's investing money. Like I'm sure, there's webinars out there and books cost money, I'm not saying thousands and thousands of dollars, but like buying a book costs money, right? It's important. And I think that when people spend money on things, they take them more seriously. So think about that if you went out and bought, a hardcover book full price, you're probably going to be more likely to read it than if somebody sent you a free audiobook of it, right? Like I bought this with my money, so I'm probably going to use it. So think about that when you're, I have tons of books and I should have like put them in a big stack barrel over on a shelf over there, but constantly be investing in yourself so that you are raising that leadership lid, raising those blind spots, all of that. And if you feel like you've got a weakness or being held back by something, I want you to just go be confidently empowered to go learn about it. Leaders ask for help. Like you've heard that phrase, leaders are learners and leaders are readers. I think that's another one, like all the things, right? There's a plethora of information out there for free, but I would rather you invest in something meaningful, whether it's just your time, like a really long training series or something, or a leadership podcast or whatever, but also like read the books, do the things, take a coaching course, like whatever you need to do. Don't assume that you know everything. And if you've got that kind of, scarcity mindset that like, I have such limited resources, how dare I invest in myself? I want you to take some time to flip that around also. Okay. And I'm going to use the phrase spend money to make money, but sometimes it's like buying a $10 book. Like it's not like I'm like, go spend $5,000 or something. No, like sometimes we got to buy some samples so we can send out the samples so the person can buy a welcome pack and we can make, long-term money on this person who might be with Plexus for their life. Okay. So it's the same idea there. Don't be afraid of spending money to make money, especially when it's improving you as a person. And the next thing it kind of goes along with just like improving as a leader and a person is who are you talking to? Who are you associating yourself with? What and who are you allowing into your mind, into your life? And, the top 5 people you spend most time with is who you're going to end up like. So show me your immediate circle and I will show you your future. Think about that. I mean, not counting your kids, like, whatever. They're crazy. But, but you know what I mean? Like who are you associating yourself with and what is the verbiage that's entering your mind? What are you allowing into your sphere of influence. Okay. And seek growth beyond that. If you're like, I want to get in some circles of people that I can really learn from, go find that out. If you want to grow in business, or you want to grow and get really networked with your community, join some groups. Or you really want to get, dig into your faith more, like join some Bible study groups. And even better if you can find an in-person one nowadays, some secret one in somebody's living room maybe. Like go find some ways to plug in, and really surround yourself with the good people that are going to lift you up and allow you to move forward. But be okay with failing forward and stretching the limits of what you think you can do, stretching the limits of your comfort zone. You are so much more capable and deserving than you realize. And you've got to get comfortable with doing things afraid and being uncomfortable. We're all innately afraid of uncertainty and failure. We all want to know what the next step is or the outcome of something, but the trick is to become friends with that fear and know that something great lies on the other side, right? I think you should always be reading. Read a book every month if you can, 10 pages a day, right? At bedtime, instead of scrolling on your phone. Stop that. You don't get to scroll on your phone until you've read 10 pages of a personal development book. Try that on for size, right? Changed my life because I had no direction. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to read these dozen books this next year. And I knocked them out like that. And I became a much better, more productive, more grounded version of myself who had really healthy boundaries and really strong relationships. That's a lot. That's a lot of change that can go on in a year. And so I'm going to spout off some book recommendations so I can absolutely put these in the chat or in the comments of when I post the recording or whatever. But here's the ones I kind of read throughout my Plexus journey. There's been several other ones that I've read, but these are kind of ones if you're just like, what do I read next? Maybe one of these will be a good place for you to start. I encourage you to read The Slight Edge, Get Over Your Damn Self, You Are a Badass, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, Atomic Habits, High Performance Habits, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Secret Code of Success, Everything is Figure Outable. That's a fun one. Brene Brown's books, Dare to Lead and Daring Greatly. Those are good books. Any of John Maxwell's leadership books, but Failing Forward. The Power of Five for network marketing is a good one if you're wanting a basic network marketing book to really empower you with some tools. The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership and the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. That's a roundup of books that would keep you busy for the next year or two. And any of those would be a good choice. It depends on what you're going through in your business and your life and your mindset and your habits and all of that. But if you're not actively reading something right now that's guiding you to a more positive space, you probably should be. So I kind of just wanted to empower you to seek help when you need it, ask questions when you need to, be the leader that you're wanting to attract. Okay? Be the leader that you want to follow. If you're thinking, oh, my upline this or my upline that, or I can never be like my upline, well, figure out how to be. What are they doing that you're not doing? Right? Do that thing. Or if you're wishing they would do something for you, guess what? They're not responsible for your business. You are. Okay? But be that person. Okay? So that's kind of all I have for you. And I know it's getting late, but if anybody has any questions, drop them. If not, I'll post this recording tomorrow and you can ask all your questions there. And I hope this was really helpful for everybody. And again, I can drop the book list in the comments, and I'm sure Cassie can drop some of the stuff about niching down, finding your ideal customer, all that, and those prompts and things. And thank you guys for coming on. This was such a valuable time, and I think we all love seeing your faces and getting that time with you. So I'll let you guys go. Have a good night, guys. Bye.